When it comes to EIC Accelerator applications, there are a few options that company can select. So for example, the first one is what type of funding does a company want to have? There's 4 different options. One is grant first, grant only, equity only, and blended financing. The basic idea is that these are the different combinations between grant and equity. So grant first means that a company is just applying for a grant, either with the intention to apply for the equity financing at a later stage or to seek financing from other sources, but the project itself is going to be structured to reach TL8 at the end of the project. And there's also an option for an additional assessment so that during the project time, the project can be assessed for future equity investment. But generally speaking, there's a maximum budget of 2.5 million and the end of the project is TL8. Grant only is a little different. It's also just a grant, but here the difference is that the end point of the project is TL9, meaning that the company has already decided that they do not want to have an equity injection by the EIC, either because they don't want to or because they're not allowed to. For example, UK companies can only opt for grant only. They cannot have an equity investment. So the big difference between grant first and grant only is that grant first can still get the equity investment by the EIC fund and the goal is TL8, while grant only means that they will execute the project without the EIC fund and their end goal is TL9 because they have other financing for the scale up at a later stage, but both just ask for the grant. And then equity only would obviously be an application where the company doesn't want to have the grant or they're not eligible for the grant and they just want to have the equity investment. And blended financing is a mix of grant and equity. So this would be a merger of the grant first and the equity only, meaning that the grant is requested to reach TL8 and then the equity brings the company to TL9. And just for the amounts, the grant is up to 2.5 million euros and the equity is always up to 15. So the maximum ticket size that the EIC Accelerator can offer is 17.5 million with the blended financing, the mix of grant and equity. And then the second option that companies that apply for the EIC Accelerator can choose from are basically which part of the EIC Accelerator budget they want to opt for. So there's usually the EIC Accelerator Open Call and the EIC Accelerator Strategic Challenges. The Open Call more or less is the default and no restriction, any industry can apply. This is just for every company that thinks that they fit the EIC Accelerator criteria. This is where they would apply. The Strategic Challenges are going to be selective. They're going to be renewed every year and they're usually a list of different technologies. So for example, energy storage is always one of them. Then agriculture, something related to buildings. Right now there's something related to semiconductors and quantum computing. So the strategic challenges have very specific goals, very specific technologies that they're looking for, or very specific problems to be solved. There aren't too many statistics published on how many companies apply and what do they apply for and who applies for which challenge. But generally speaking, the budgets for the open call and the challenges call are usually more or less the same. And just statistically speaking, there are many more companies that fit into the unrestricted open call rather than the very restricted challenges call. So it's usually preferable, if possible at all, to apply for any of the challenges. There's probably a benefit when it comes to the success rate. Thanks for watching.